Oh no, I've got issues.
So when you go red.
Oh.
So you ready, Amy?
No, I'm not. I just think it's, there we go. Hang on.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lex.
How are you, Amy?
I'm very well. I'm sitting down because I'm a bit of a granny today.
You got a crook hip, haven't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yes.
Tell the world.
So happy Father's Day to all the dads
it's
out
very
there.
exciting. Happy Father's Day to you, Lex.
Yeah, why not?
Even though they're not here.
No, I've got some phone calls this morning from the girls, so that was
They've
nice.
ticked off the list. They've both done that. Excellent.
Yes, yep. So if you're joining us for the first time, it's just great to have you part of Redgum Live. And so in a few minutes, we're going to have a little video of kids saying Happy Father's Day to each their dads.
Yep.
And then we're going to do an interview with someone special, and then you're leading a song.
Yes.
And then I get to speak.
And then I get to lead songs again.
You do.
That is the spiel.
Yes. So welcome. And I miss Dave Sharman.
Do you?
Yeah, because seeing Dave's smiling face over there. And Dave Sharman, he's one of those really smart, intelligent men. He knows a lot about world history. He knows about people like Karl Marx. But I'm not sure if Dave knows anything about Karl Marx's sister, Anya. Now, Anya, she created the starting pistol, you know, on your marks. Right.
Oh, so that was a dad joke. I'm going to allow you that dad joke on Father's Day.
You've got to have dad's jokes on Father's Day.
Lauren is shaking her head at you, Lex.
And so, Dave, Lauren says Happy Father's Day from your beloved daughter here in our recording thing with Redgum Live. So
I genuinely thought you were telling a story then. Oh, dear.
So sorry about that, but that's Father's Day.
If I could biff him coral, I would, but I have to keep 1.5 meters away from him.
Now, it's actually your birthday today too.
It is.
You're very clever having a birthday on Father's Day.
I know. I was born on Father's Day.
Okay.
So I figure I am the best Father's Day present my dad is ever going to get.
That's
so
true.
I'm like, negates any presents I have to give now for the rest of my life.
Now, I want you to sing happy birthday to yourself in a moment.
Sure.
But also to Rachel, because Rachel had a birthday.
She did.
And I'm going to get a little cake, so.
Excellent. I like that you've got 2 candles in the cake, by the way.
Have.
You know, I've just got to tell you this. It's actually more pressure to sing Happy Birthday and play that on the guitar than it is to play any other song that we do in church. I'm just saying. Lex goes to me, I'll just play D7. I'm like, Lex, I don't know D7. Right, sing. Are you going to sing with me? No. Oh. There we go. Happy birthday to you. And me and Rach. Happy birthday to you. I can't do it. Can I do it a cappella? Happy birthday to Rachel and me. Happy birthday to me. And Rachel. Hip hip. Hey, there we go. Hip hip. Hip hip.
Well done.
Thanks.
That went really well. Can you just blow the things out?
No, I'm not going to blow them out because I want us all to eat them. If you put it down here, I'll hit it.
Oh,
there we go.
Too clever.
Excellent.
Too clever.
Nice. You can tell I've worked with preps and we don't spit on cakes.
You don't spit on cakes?
No.
Well, it's your cake. You get to take it home, so it doesn't matter.
True, but probably most of my family can't eat it. So let's share it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Sounds good. All right, so we're going to go to, what are we doing next, Amy?
We're going to go to a video to see some really cute kids saying Happy Father's Day.
Okay, let's do it.
I love Dad and he plays with me a lot and I like helping Dad and I like playing footy with him and I like going wood chopping with him. Happy Father's Day. One thing I like about my dad is that he gives me great cuddles.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Dad.
My dad's kind,
caring,
And amazing. We love you, Dad!
I love Dad because he lets me go to his work. I love you, Dad.
Happy Father's Day, Daddy.
Happy Father's
Day. I love you, Dad.
Happy Father's Day.
I love Daddy because he takes me for rides on this tractor. I love my dad because he do funny jokes. I love my dad because he takes me down the shops. I love my dad because he gives me good cuddles. Happy Father's Day, Dad! I like because we go adventuring together. I like Dad because he's funny and he tells good jokes. I like Dad because I like building with him.
Okay. Well, it's really great to have you all with us this morning. We've got people in Adelaide and South Australia, in Sydney and far north Queensland, Brisbane, and locally. I love the fact that we've got people watching from the Sarsfield area, the fire-affected areas, from Lakes Entrance, Paynesville, all over the place. But this morning, I want to really welcome a family on the other side of the world in the UK. In fact, Josh, you're there with your family, and Darcy, how exciting is that? And it's really weird to think that you're now way back on that other part of the world that we originally all sort of came from in some way. Australia, the culture of Australia comes out of the UK, and so welcome. And I've got a little interview that you're going to see now with Josh just before he left Australia and went back home to his family. So thank you. Okay, Josh, welcome to Redgum.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic having you here.
Thank you.
So you're from Wales?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're going to tell me from North Wales, aren't you?
North Wales.
Yeah. And so you and your girlfriend Darcy
Yeah.
have come to Australia to just travel around and get to look at our wonderful country.
Yeah, that's right.
So you arrived in February?
Yeah, February the 1st.
Okay. And you were just driving through Bairnsdale. It was just a place you're going to be going through, and your car broke down between Lakes and Bairnsdale, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So who came to rescue you?
Kath Raymond.
Right, Kath
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
yes. And did she grab Jeff after that, or what happened?
Yeah, so she was on a school run.
Yes.
And she called Jeff and just said to come down and check if we were okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jeff and Kath came to help you.
Yeah.
Total strangers.
Total strangers.
As a result of that, eventually, you've ended up living with them for the last 4 months. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's a big, incredible moment in your lives, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a trip rescued for us, so.
Wow. Now, when you first came to Australia, you had never really ever been into a church. You'd never walked into a church at all.
No.
No concept of God or Jesus or anything.
It's not really. I mean, my mum's a little bit about it, but yeah, not really.
But for you, nothing,
No.
right? And so you walked into Jeff and Kat's home, where they've opened up their home, they've loved you, they've welcomed you in, and you end up watching Redgum live on a Sunday in their home.
It actually woke me up one morning.
Right, they woke you.
I was the first Sunday with
Right.
them, and I could hear the kids shouting,
Yes.
the grandkids, and it's like, what's going on in there?
Right.
And then the following Sunday, I thought I have to get up and see this.
Aha.
Yeah. So.
Right. So you chose to. You didn't get conscripted.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. They left me in bed, but
So if Jeff and Kath had got up on a Sunday morning and drove off to Redgum Church, if that invited you, would you have gone?
I'd say yes.
To be polite.
Yes.
Okay. And so you began with no concept of God, really, or who Jesus is, or
Yeah.
how you have a relationship.
I sort of
with him.
I knew about it,
Yes.
but never really pursued anything or
Okay.
thought about it too much.
So my understanding is you've been watching Redgum live every week since, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
That's right.
So tell me how that has been for you, that journey of discovering, because somehow you found that God's real, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I never thought it'd be a thing, but I've fully been taken on. It's been good fun watching it
Right.
and asking lots of questions and stuff.
So tell me how that's sort of happened in your life. Like you began watching, did that make you a little bit curious, or what?
Yeah,
happened?
it certainly did. Yeah, because I've never really spoken to anyone who's had a big belief.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I'm around so many people who have a big belief.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how I.
And so you started watching, and then you started asking questions. Is that how
Yes,
it's been?
yeah, probably pecking your brains a fair bit.
No, I actually hear that you've been asking other people, anyone that would listen to your questions.
Yeah, I have been. Yeah.
Yes. So for you personally, where's that taken you now? Where do you stand between you and God and this Jesus that you'd never heard of?
I'm just still finding everything out so much and just enjoying what I'm hearing. And I've started reading the Bible as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I've actually got my own copy.
Right.
Yeah.
Has that made sense to you, or is it hard to understand?
Certainly when I opened it, I was like, well, I actually started off with Mark.
Yep.
And that was, an enjoyable
In the New
read.
Testament,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yep.
And then moved on to Luke.
Okay.
And then I thought, actually, I'd try a bit of, try reading Genesis. So I
Yes.
started having a go at that.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just been sort of every other night, certainly.
And do you find yourself talking to God now at all?
Jeff and Kath pray before dinner.
Yes.
So that's, then.
But you personally?
No.
Yep.
No, not yet.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just intrigued about your little journey because there's this whole thing where God wants to take us into a relationship with Him. But do you think that's actually began for you? A sense
I
of...
think it's certainly the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
And
And you're going back to Wales soon.
Yes, I am.
Well, good on you. But we're going to miss you. But I just love the fact that this 4 months, I believe God's really positioned you and Darcy into our lives.
Yeah.
We've loved you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like a big God setup that your vehicle broke down in this random place in Australia where there's a husband and wife that would bring you into their home.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And love you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're very lovable.
Thank you. Yeah.
You and Darcy are amazing, and we've just loved this time. And you're going back.
Yeah.
And so will you keep watching Redgum live?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm coming back out in a couple of years and hopefully actually get to come to Redgum at the church, which will be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be fascinating seeing how your little growth in trusting God and your faith in Him and where that takes you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is. Well, Josh, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's just amazing to see how one set of lives, you and Darcy's life, have been changed forever because someone stopped on the road to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And then they opened up their whole life to you.
Yeah, but the thing was we actually were able to get our farm work done as well, meaning we can come back for a second year and just everything come together.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really, really good.
Fantastic. Thanks, Josh.
Thank
really
you very much.
appreciate
Thank you
coming this morning.
Thank you.
Well, Josh, thank you for having the guts to share your story with Lex, and I pray that even while you're over in England, that God will continue to reveal Himself to you. It's exciting to see how the way that God works, and that even with all that's going on, with the restrictions and change to life and a new normal, that God goes, they're not restrictions for me. I can work in different ways, and I knew this was going to happen. So yeah, I appreciate that story. We're going to sing Glorious Day now. I encourage you to listen to the lyrics that you're singing so that you can take that not only just from head to heart. Let's sing. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your your mercy, now your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new, Jesus, when I met you, oh, you called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, oh, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, but you called me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, and when you call my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, oh, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. Ooh, my rescue, my shelter, my portion, my healer. You made me, you called me, you saved me, you hold me. My rescue, my shelter, my portion, my healer. You made me, you called me, you shaped me, you hold me. My rescue, my shelter, my portion, my healer. You made me, you called me, saved me, you hold me. My rescue, my shelter, portion, my healer. You make me, you call me, you shape me, you hold me. Oh, oh, out of that grave, you called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, oh, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. Oh, glorious day, glorious day.
Thank you, Amy. I love the way you lead songs. You can drive a guitar. I'd love to hear you on drums. I reckon you'd be really good on drums. But thank you for that. Appreciate it. 2 weeks ago, we were looking at a thing called backpacks and boulders, and it was a word picture, and it was something that Paul wrote about in Galatians. And what he was talking about was the things that come into our life, the boulders that crush us, that we're meant to actually carry those for each other. And he says these words, carry each other's burdens, which is the boulders. But then he says each one should carry his own load, which is a backpack. It's always light. It's not a heavy thing. It's just what we carry for a day. And Paul's describing something that is a boundary between these two things. And if we can get this right, it helps us with our relationships with each other. Now, the question is, what's in our backpacks? And this morning, I need Amy to help me just to show us what's in our backpacks, because each one of us have 4 tanks in our backpacks, and I've got them down here. So, Amy, if you could fill up these 4 tanks, and I'm going to come back to these in a few minutes and talk to them about a bit more, but I've got some lovely colours for you to look at. So just fill them up. Yep, whichever ones you like.
I'd just like to acknowledge that he's making me fill them up with food colouring so that he doesn't spill it on the carpet.
Yeah, because this will dye the carpet forever. And so just fill them up right to the top. I hope they'll get there. But each one of these is different. In the tanks that we have in our life are completely different. In fact, what happens, though, in each one of these tanks affects the other tanks. And the quality of our life is completely dependent upon what is going on in these tanks. And each one of these tanks represents a different type of energy. Now, the Bible doesn't say much about time management, but it says a real lot about energy management. And you can have all the time in the world to do something, but if you don't have the energy to do it, it just won't happen. If you have got to make a difficult phone call and you don't have the energy to do it, it's not going to happen. You'll put it off. If there's a messy storeroom in your house and you don't have the energy to sort it out, you just close the door and walk away. I used to have a little saying, never put off till tomorrow what you can put off till the next day. And I got really good at doing that, but that caused me some grief in life. So I'm sort of reformed, and I don't use that so much as little saying anymore. But life is not so much about time management, but about energy management. And I want to read you something this morning, and it should be shocking when you hear this. It should be unexpected, and unfortunately, some of you have already heard what I'm going to read out. So I would just love you for a moment to try to imagine you're hearing this for the first time. In fact, when you hear this, it's like an extra layer of proof that the Bible narrative about creation is not some made-up fable, that it's actually a real story about what happened. So what I'm going to read to you is found in the second chapter of Genesis, and it starts with this. On the 7th day, God had finished all his work of creation. Now, that's not a literal 24-hour period. That is literally a period of time. The Hebrew word, means a period of time. Is this making too much noise for you, is it? It is leaking. Yes, it's making a noise. So that's okay. That all the technical people in the background go, what's that noise going on? Well, it's just this thing leaking as I'm talking. So you can relax, Jeff. So when Moses is writing this account of Genesis, and he says on the 7th day, that's a distinct period of time. It's not a 24-hour period. It's a distinct period of time. So on the 7th age, on this 7th space of time, God rested from all his work. And it goes on and says, and God blessed the 7th day and declared it holy, because it was a day where he rested from all the work of creation. The all-powerful, almighty God that just spoke the universe into being had a nap. Poor God, he got all tired out. Well, that's how offensive it should sound. It should sound shocking when you hear that, because when Moses is writing this, it's in a time of the world where every nation would brag on how powerful their God is, that their God was more powerful than other nations. It's like my footy team can beat your footy team. And to hear that Jehovah, the God of Israel, rested after creating this whole world, it's almost like saying he's weak. No one making up a creation story would include that detail. Daniel Andrews definitely wouldn't. And I just want to make a comment, not a political comment, but on a leadership level. Like Daniel Andrews has been doing press conferences daily for, 55, 60 days straight. And I know that he thinks that that's strong leadership. But surely having a rest, having a break, surely that the the quality of our governance of our state of Victoria is about the decisions that our leaders make, not the press conferences they do. And so I would say that is not actually wise to just continually day after day. And God doesn't model that. And when Moses gives us this account of creation, he gets this directly from God. And this concept of rest, it's then passed on to the people that Moses is leading. And it's not an act of weakness, it's actually an act of wisdom, of really true understanding of how we work and what works best for us. And when Moses came down from the mountain, he's got these big 10 commandments he's carrying with him, right? And when he introduces the concept of do not murder, he uses 4 words. He says, do not steal. It's just a couple of words. But this concept of rest, Moses uses 96 words. I know, I counted them, right? But 96 words to try and convince us of the purpose of rest, the place of rest, the value of rest. And it's interesting that the first 3 commandments are all about how we treat God. The last 6 are how we treat each other. But there's just this one commandment that's about how we treat ourselves, how we look after ourselves, and it's all to do with rest. And what's interesting, God gave this commandment to people who were on a camping holiday. They had been working 7 days a week for years as slaves in Egypt, and now they're on a camping holiday, and even on holidays, God's saying there's a place for rest, regular rest. And if we can get this energy management right in our life, we then become the very best version of us in how we treat, how we relate to our family, to our friends, to each other. The concept of energy management is dependent upon how we relate to God first. What drains me may not drain you. And what energises... Can we just put the camera down here for a sec, Steve? I've got this person creeping along in front of me. Here she... Just keep creeping. Come on, Amy, just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Do you know how hard it is to concentrate when you've got someone crawl along the floor in front of you? Okay, so what energises me may not energise you. What's funny to me may not be funny to you. But so we all get our energy needs in different ways, and what drains us is different. Like, some of you get energised when you're with people. Some of you get drained and just for my wife Coral, just to be by herself, to sit down and watch a movie, to read a book, that's what fills her tanks. No matter how hard we try, you can never get or create more time in your world, in your life, in your week. But we can create more energy. Energy is renewable. It can be regenerated. Some of you get out of bed in the morning and you want to get a big black texture and write out of order across your head and go back to bed. Some of you wake up tired. You feel tired all day, and then you get to bed at night and you're wide awake. Some of you think that God gave us sleep just so you can charge your iPhones. We're all different. But the art of energy management is not about sleep. Sleep can be part of it, but that's not what I'm talking about. There's much, much, much more. Different tasks require different amounts of energy. If you do something you hate for 4 hours, you'll feel drained and frustrated at the end of that. But if you do something that you really love and enjoy, even at the end of 8 hours, you can feel energised and fulfilled, which is why I deliberately allow Coral the privilege of mowing our lawns. Because even though she might be physically tired at the end of it, She gets the satisfaction of seeing the lawn mown. And I wouldn't want to rob her of that, right? Now, different tasks don't just require different amounts of energy, they require different types. So on our little tanks here, you'll notice that some of them have got lower than others. And some of them represent different things. They are different types of energy. This here represents emotional energy, physical energy, mental energy. That's our creativity. That's our thoughts that we make decisions through, and obviously our physical energy. And they all leak. Life takes out of us. Life drains us. Things happen to our emotional tank, to our mental tank, to our physical, to our spiritual. Back in January, I became friends with a young farmer over at Corryong, and a 21-year-old guy, and he contacted me about the stag hounds that I breed and hunt with, and he had the fires go through. 800 acres of their farm was burnt out in those fires, and he ended up buying a pup from me, and we have become good friends, and then the pup accidentally broke its front leg, and he asked me what we should do, and I gave him advice, and he reached out to me, and he spent nearly $1,000 fixing this pup up. About a month ago, his brother contacted me late at night to tell me tragically that Sam had taken his life. 21-year-old guy took his life, and he left a note asking for this pup for me to take the dog back, which I'm going to pick the dog up when I can and look after that dog and cherish it. But when I was watching Sam's funeral, the live streaming of his funeral, it really got me how that when these tanks, if they get really empty, emotionally and mentally, I think 3 of the 4 tanks were empty for Sam. And Sam, I don't believe, wanted to die. He just wanted the pain to stop, because when those tanks are empty, it creates such a pain in our life. And I know that Sam's story is an extreme, but all of us are affected when our tanks get low, when the lights start flashing and the fuel lights going, we're empty. This tank is empty. And knowing what drains you and what sustains you, that helps, but it's not just an equation of energy in and energy out. There's more to it. And I know that there are times in life when you can feel like you're doing too much, that life's almost overwhelming. But in those moments, if you make a decision that is basically to take the pressure off yourself, to take the pain away like Sam did, you'll always make the wrong decisions. Of all the things that we carry in our backpack, there are some things, some responsibilities that only we can carry. And some of those things drain us, and that's okay. Being a dad, you are the only one on planet Earth that can be the father to your kids. Doesn't matter what age they are. Doesn't matter if you have very little to do with them. You play a role in their life that no one else can. And even for some of you, I know being a dad has been painful at times. For some of you, it's taken a lot out of you. It's drained you. But do you know what? You can do something for your kids that no one else can do. It's a privilege, it's a responsibility, and it's in your backpack. The work you do, it can drain you at times. The responsibilities you carry. It's okay, though, to have things that drain us. What's important is what we have that nourishes us, that puts energy back into our tanks. That's what matters. I can't find anywhere in my Bible that talks about the need to have an annual holiday. I can find a lot about energy management, but nowhere does God says we need 4 weeks holiday. Now, I know that some people spend the whole year hanging out to go on the trip. They save money. They work all year to be able to get away and have 4 weeks. And it goes so fast. And then you come back to work and it's like you're back to where you were almost instantly. It's like it never made a difference. And in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, there's 2 chapters, chapter 3 and chapter 4, that are all about energy management. And in these chapters, you'll find a funny little word called today. I want to read you one verse that includes this word today in it. It's in chapter 3 and says, "But encourage one another daily, as long as it's called today, so that none of you will become deceived by sin and hardened against God." People walk away from God because they don't feel encouraged. And that's a role that we all carry. And even with COVID, you can ring someone up, encourage them. You can speak words of encouragement over their life. You can do that for someone else. And in chapter 4, it says, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua took Israel into the promised land, it says, if Joshua had given them rest, if the law that Moses brought down about not working 1 day a week, if that had worked, the writer of Hebrews says, if the law had worked, if the old covenant worked, he says, God would not have spoken later about another day, about today." And that word today, it's for here and now. It's not a destination. Like when they got to the promised land, they still didn't feel rested. There wasn't rest, not true rest. And it's not a destination rest. It's something we experience through life, and it can be experienced daily. It's about grace. It's not law. And the writer of Hebrews goes on, he says, "There remains then a Sabbath rest. And this is not a day, this is a daily, today we can experience this. There's a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own work, from our own struggle, from our own efforts, our own energies. But there's more to God's rest than just stopping doing something. And that's why it says, when we enter God's rest, we also stop the struggle, because we enter not by doing nothing, but through relationship with him. And God modelled that. And the Hebrew writer says, just as God did from his rest, from his work. Now, the word rest includes this concept of celebration. As Aussies, we love celebrating what our sporting heroes or sporting teams do, but we're not always good at celebrating what each other does. And I think in church life, we aren't always good at celebrating the good things that are happening. Yesterday, our fire recovery team delivered 50 Father's Day cakes with the word Dad written on them and a box of chocolates to 50 dads in the fire-affected area. And they all went out and they drove around and they knocked on doors, and we had permission to do it. And I think that is just so remarkable. And you know what I love about that is that it wasn't my idea. I didn't cook the things. I didn't wrap them up. A team did that. And it was the initiative of people that care, because God cares and they're reflecting his heart into our community. And I just want to brag on you guys for a moment. You are such a gift to this community and to Redgum. And I'm just so proud of all the things that you do on a weekly and daily basis. Even last night, I got an email from a couple that was so appreciative of what Redgum's been doing, and you're representing us. And I want to thank you for that. I want to celebrate that. The word rest that the writer of Hebrew uses is only found specifically, this word, in these couple of chapters in Hebrews. And it's a word that comes from the same root word as the word, it does sound a bit rude, no, as the word katatismos. And that's a strange Greek word, And just stay with me for a sec. But in Ephesians, when Paul is talking about the whole purpose of the church, the purpose of leadership, the whole function of a church, it's wrongly translated for the equipping of the saints. It should be for the mending. And the word katatismos is a picture of a broken bone, set of bones that are then put in a plaster cast, and they heal because there's an environment for them to heal. And the word rest comes from the same root word that this word mend comes from. And the whole purpose of the church is to heal and restore. It's to heal and restore. And it's for today. It's not a destination one day when we die, we get to heaven, it's all good. No, it's for now. Jesus said this, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened." That's the word baros. That's the weight. That's the heaviness. That's the unexpected stuff. It's the fires that come. It's the broken relationship that destroys you. He says, "Come to me." The responsibilities that's too much. Come to me, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle in heart. You'll find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden, my backpack, it's light. It's just what you carry for one day. It's not rest from work. It's rest in work. If your emotional tank is empty, physically sleeping, you may want to do that, but it doesn't help. You have to find something that fills the emotional tank. If you're fortunate, some of you can even find things that will fill all four tanks at the same time. When I go deer hunting, that fills all four tanks, especially if I do it with my brother Jeff, because it fills my emotional tank hanging out with Jeff. It fills my mental tank when you try to outsmart a deer, when you try to understand all the signs and read what's going on, and you have to use your brains. And physically, climbing mountains it's good for me. It keeps me in this perfect physique that you're all jealous of, I know, right? And when you're sitting on a mountain and the sun's setting and you see all the colours changing and you hear the life around you, it fills a spiritual tank in seeing what God has done. And when I go out spotlighting it, that fills emotional tanks. It's part of the journey of life, and it's so important to do these things that fill our tanks. But ultimately, what really we all need is something that only God can give, and it's entering His rest. It's for some of you, you'll find energy by listening to a worship song, by listening to the songs that we do here on a Sunday. To that where you enter His rest can come through praise and worship. It can come through talking to God, listening to Him. It can be actually reading His Word. And in Hebrews 4, as soon as it's talking about entering God's rest, it goes straight on to how God's Word is this live and living thing. And Josh, I know that that's something that you've entered into, that God's starting to become real to you as you read His Word. And it's so live and active that it can even show us our thoughts and our heart attitudes. Entering God's rest can include God's peace. And our friend Jeffrey in Tasmania there, he will tell you the difference between living in God's peace and when you don't have peace, when you feel tormented. Serving others, using your gift to minister to others can energize you. I know the role that Ellie's been playing in the fire recovery. It fills her tanks, and she's really good at it, and it's God's gift upon her life. And I'm just so thankful that ministry is meant to energize us, not to drain us. If it's draining you, you're doing something not God's way. I want to finish with a story. A number of years ago when we were in Sydney, in the church that we started, we had a season when we had a lot of people leave for different reasons. Families leave. And we were going along okay. And then a family that was part of our leadership team, our board members, who they took turns in preaching and leading worship. And we were doing life with this family. And we, like, even I did a trip down to Bairnsdale, and the husband came with me, and he met my mum and dad, and we stayed, and we went up the bush, and we did things together. And they came to me one Sunday after church and said, Lex, we love you. We love Coral. We love this church, but for the sake of our 3 kids, we're going to go to the large Hillsong church that was only 10 minutes away, and because they've got a large youth group there, and we're going to go there. So I'm sorry, but we're gone. And I was devastated. My emotional tank was just drained, like someone just pulled the plug out. And I thought, how do we keep going? How do we keep going? And the next morning, I can remember I was outside and I was talking to God, and I just said, God, I need something from you. I can't keep going. And I went inside, and there was a Bible sitting on the coffee table in the lounge room, and it was a new Bible. I'd never seen it before. Coral had brought it home from Anglicare. She worked, someone had donated this thing, and it was called the Big Rescue Bible or something. And I just opened it up, and the first words that I read were in Isaiah, and it said, "Open your eyes, look around, the crowds are coming." And as I read that, I felt God speaking directly into my life. And the energy that brought kept me going for the next 3 or 4 years. And I saw our church turn around. And by the time we left Sydney, we had a worship team that anyone would be jealous for. We had gifted people in so many areas. And leaving that church was so hard because God had brought amazing people into our world. And that began with a promise. And if you'll allow God to speak into your life, He will put energy in your tanks when you can't even imagine how, because that's what God can do. So I just encourage you to reach out to Him, to enter His rest, because He has it. He can fill tanks that nothing else on this earth can fill. Thank you, Amy.
In the darkness we were waiting, without hope, without light. Heaven, you came running, there was mercy in your eyes. To fulfill the law and prophets, to a virgin came the word. From the throne of endless glory, to a cradle in the dirt. For